a look around. How much plastic do you see? A lot, because it's in everything. Yet, only about 9% of it ever gets recycled. It's so bad, we're literally pooping plastic. Plastic's been with us for a long time though. We knew about it in the early 1900s as Bakelite, and by 1920, polystyrene was on the market. You know polystyrene as those foamy takeout containers that we all use. Although polystyrene has been with us for 100 years now, we still do not have a recycling process in place for that material. And despite us not having great ends of life plans for these plastic materials, their usage has exploded. For example, just during the World War II period, the use of plastics quadrupled. This is because safety equipment for service members came along made from plastic, like helmets and raincoats. But by the time the war was over, those industries, they needed other places to sell their goods, and they selected us, the consumers. And consumers went for it because the products made from plastic, they were lightweight, durable, cheap, and allowed us to live a different lifestyle than we ever had before. But while we were enjoying all these products, we forgot to think about their end of life. And that right there is how plastic beat us to the bottom of the ocean. Last year, the Mariana Trench, the deepest known point in our ocean, was explored. And when we got there, plastic was waiting for us. The dive team found a plastic bag and candy bar wrappers 7 miles below the Earth's surface. And it doesn't stop there. A 2018 study confirmed what scientists had already thought. Plastic is entering our bodies, and at least some of it is coming back out. And this is due to microplastics, which are plastics that are 5 millimeters or smaller in size. So these generally happen from big pieces of plastic breaking up. So for example, a piece of ocean plastic breaking into small particles that a fish mistakes for food, and then we eat that fish as it moves through the food chain. Or those microplastics can come from microfibers, which are pieces of synthetic plastic that are shed from synthetic fabric. Either way, this small initial study found plastic in every single human poop sample they studied. And beyond that, amazingly, they were able to identify 9 of the 10 different commonly found plastics that we all use.
As consumers, we are taught plastic is recyclable. When you take a plastic and put it in a recycling bin, we assume that it is recycled. That's not how it works. Actually, only 9% of plastic get recycled. Hundreds of cities have stopped the servicing of recycling plastic or limiting its services and burning the plastics for energy because China has stopped taking the US waste plastic for export.
Plastic recycling costs money, and that's why cities have stopped doing it. It cost New York City $18 more per ton in 2018 to recycle something instead of just send it to landfill. But this is causing serious problems. Our landfills are getting full, and so are our oceans. By 2050, there will be equal amounts of both plastic and fish in our waterways by weight, creating dire consequences for us, for animals, and our ecosystem as a whole. But recycling can work. This is what we need to put in place for that to actually happen. For starters, we need universal standards across the country, which we do not have. Recycling standards vary from municipality to municipality. Secondly, we need infrastructure, appropriate infrastructure. What we have now is insufficient and ineffective. We need equipment that can take mass amounts of mixed plastic materials, sort them, process them, and prepare them for their next life as something new. We also need to have a clean stream. Clean material is pertinent in recycling. You have to start out that way. Just one soda bottle entering the system with soda still in it can cause hundreds of pounds of plastic material that was otherwise recyclable to get contaminated and end up in the landfill. And lastly, we need a market for post-consumer recycled plastic. If you buy a product and it says made with recycled plastic, generally that means post-industrial recycled plastic, which is a completely different kind of material. So we need to create that demand, and how we do that is another talk for another day. But from this, we have to create demand.
This is a bit depressing talk for a TED talk. How do we actually solve the plastic crisis?
So our solution to the plastic crisis is very novel. Actually use less plastic. But before we get there, Raju, I think we should share a bit about our backgrounds. So I'm actually second generation in my family to work in Michigan's plastics industry. I grew up on the shop floor, and it just smells like my childhood. But I'm very proud of the accomplishments my dad had in his career, but I'm mortified by the amount of waste that's created. See, we as consumers, we only ever see about 1/3 of that waste.
I grew up in rural India in a small town called Belgaum, and my father is a rice farmer. During farming and harvesting, there is a lot of biomaterial waste is generated. Most of the farmers in India and around the world, they burn this waste, creating more pollution. So we can take this waste and convert into usable materials and giving it a sustainable solution. Our background in plastic manufacturing and agriculture brought us to an idea that we can take this bio-based waste, combine with some resin or bioresin, and convert into a usable material that is more sustainable. What we do is, for example, take this coffee bean. During harvesting, a lot of waste is generated in the form of hulls, and only a small amount of coffee is actually usable. So we can take this coffee hull, combine with a bioresin or a resin, and convert into a raw material like this. And this raw material we can convert back into a finished product like a cup like this.
You can actually drink a cup of coffee made from a cup from coffee waste.
Let's play a game for a second. Out of all the trees cut down in the US every year, what percentage of them do you think goes to make shipping pallets? And I mean in a normal year, not during COVID toilet paper mass production time. So did you guess about 50%? I didn't believe that either when a wooden pallet manufacturer first told me this. But when another manufacturer of pallets confirmed it and I did my own research, I was just blown away. And when I studied this further, I realized that most wooden pallets were only used 1 to 5 times before they were thrown away. I was fuming mad. And when I get mad, I have to do something. So we made the world's first bamboo fiber reinforced shipping pallets, ladies and gentlemen. And our first customer was a Forbes Fortune 100 company. This pallet can be made out of recycled plastic, and right now we're using 25% bamboo as well. Not only can we make these bamboo fiber reinforced pallets, they can also be recycled at their end of life, which will be much longer than one use like a wooden pallet, probably close to 50. These pallets can be recycled in their own closed loop system, and at the end of their life, they come back, get recycled, and continue their journey as more new sustainable pallets.
That's not all. Using this material, there are other substantial advantages too. We can reduce a lot of carbon dioxide using this material. We can use actually less plastic or no plastic at all. Help farmers by taking their plant-based waste and giving them some incentive for that material. And finally, we can take that waste and give it a second life.
Americans throw away 35 billion with a B plastic bottles every year. Think of all that plastic, landfill space, and carbon emissions. What if there was a solution to all this? We're working on it. We've made bottles that are 10 to 100% plant-based. How much plant content we can use depends on what the final product application is, but our solutions significantly reduce CO2 emissions. Oh, and when one of our customers tested the performance of a bottle made with our material, it performed better than the traditional plastic bottle. These bottles are really special to me for two reasons. First, blow molding, the process used to make these bottles, is hard. When we first told people we were going to do this, no one believed us. But we did it, and I'm so proud of our team. Secondly, my dad specialized in blow molding bottles. He was on the first team to create plastic bottles with handles and many other of the innovations we all use every day. And he helped bring these bottles into our lives, but now our team, we're doing it and making them sustainable.
And this was dreamed up in Detroit. We're just a gritty Detroit startup with some major goals. Our plan is to disrupt a centuries-old industry that has not modernized itself for our current needs and solve one of the world's biggest problems. Our step to this for 2021 is all of our materials will have at least 20% less CO2 emissions than the material they're replacing. And in 10 years, we want that to be 50%. We know we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to solve a problem that affects every person on this earth, and we don't take that responsibility lightly. We won't be happy until everyone's poop is once again free of plastic.